The last lesson of Chapter 2 has to do with rewriting equations and formulas. This is an important skill that you'll need to know for your science classes for now and in the future. And so you'll see this type of thing all through high school and all through college. So make sure that you're comfortable with it. So for these examples, the directions that you'll often see in the book will say something like, write the equation so that y is a function of x. This is actually just a fancy way to say, solve for y. So if you want to just think of it as solving for y, that's fine. But writing the equation so that y is a function of x is just another way to say it. So then, for number 1, we are trying to solve for y. And when you solve for y, your goal is to isolate this variable, this y right there. So the first thing we're going to do is move over everything that's on the same side of the equal sign as the y. And actually the only thing that we have is that 5x. So we're going to move over the 5x. Once you do that, you're going to bring down your y. The 5x and the 5x end up giving you 0, so they cancel out. You bring down your equal sign. And this is the part where people sometimes get messed up. 8 minus 5x, you can't combine those because they're not like terms, so you're just going to write it as 8 minus 5x. And that's all your answer is for that one. So then our second one is 3x minus y equals 6. So this is very similar to the previous problem, except that there's one small difference. So our one small difference is that we have a negative y. So you do the same first step, which is to subtract 3x from both sides. So on your left-hand side, 3x minus 3x is 0. If you want to cross those out, you can. Bring down your y, but do not forget to bring down that negative. Then you get 6 minus 3x. So you are not finished. Now you need to get rid of that negative with the y. The only way that you can really do that is to divide that y by negative 1. Since you do that to one side of the equal sign, you have to do that to everything on the other side of the equal sign. So once you do that, left-hand side you finally have y by itself. 6 divided by negative 6 divided by negative 1 gives you negative 6. Minus 3x divided by minus 1 gives you plus 3x. So then this is your answer. So our next problem, it has the same directions. The only difference is that I'm building up and the steps are getting more complicated. There's more of them. So we're still solving for y, but the first thing that we need to do is we need to move over that 2x. So when you move over that 2x, what's going to happen is the 2x minus 2x is 0. It cancels out. 3y just comes straight down. The equal sign comes straight down. Then I'm left with 12 minus 2x. So now I need to divide everything by 3 in order to get rid of that 3 with the y. So everything gets divided by 3. 3y divided by 3 is just going to be 1y, or y. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Negative 2x divided by 3, that is not going to give you a integer number, so you can just keep that as a fraction. You keep it as negative 2x over 3 or as negative 2/3 x. This would be the perfect way to write your answer for that one. So now things are going to get a little bit harder because we're going to move away from things that have numbers and look only at things that have variables and letters. So these letters are going to represent numbers, but they're going to look a lot harder. So on these, I'm going to ask you to solve for x. And starting with example number 4, we have ax plus b equals c. So remember, we are solving for x. That means that we need to isolate this x. You're going to start by working with the things on the same side of the equal sign. And Since you have an a next to the x and a b being added, you're actually going to undo the adding b first by subtracting b from both sides. When you do that, you get ax equals c minus b. So we are not done yet. We have to get rid of that a. We do that by dividing both sides by a, and I'm just going to divide everything on my right side by a. Once I do that, on my left-hand side, ax divided by a just gives you x. C over a, we can write as c over a. B over a, we're going to keep as b over a. This is my answer. So we're going to do a few more. So my next one, I have x over a minus b equals c. I'm still trying to isolate this x. So I'm going to start with the b that's on the same side of the equal sign as it. Once I do that, I get x over a equals c plus b. Now remember that x over a is the same thing as x divided by a. In order to undo the dividing by a, we are going to multiply that x over a by a, and we also have to multiply the other side by a. So on your left-hand side, a times x over a is just going to give you x. The a's cancel out. On the right-hand side, actually, you can just leave it as a times c plus b. That's all you really need to do for that one. If you want to go further, you can distribute that a. You would get a times c plus a times b. But that's not a necessary step. That's just extra work. But I don't really care. If you want to do that, you can. Our last type of problem involves actual formulas. So my first formula, by the way, the directions are to solve it for t. My first formula is d equals rt. Now, many of you, I'm hoping all of you actually, have seen this formula. I hope that you remember that this formula represents distance equals rate times time. So we're going to solve this for t. So all you're going to do, you're trying to get this t by itself. The way that you're going to do that is by moving that r. So now that r is being multiplied by that t, you are going to move that over by dividing both sides by r. When you do that, you get d over r equals t, which you can rewrite as t equals d over r. So one more formula that we have, it's written as PV equals nRT. This is actually an important formula that you'll see in chemistry. This is called the ideal gas law. You don't need to memorize that right now, but it is something you'll see later on. So what you can do is you can actually do several things at once. We have n times r times t. If you want, you can actually divide both sides by both n and r. So you can divide it by n times r. The reason you would do that is because on your right-hand side, when you do that, the n's are going to cancel out, the r's are going to cancel out, and you're just left with t. Left-hand side, you just have PV over nr. So we would most likely write that as t equals PV over nr.